But where we are at the moment is at this wonderful nursery called Eumundi Palms, and we've got the founder of the nursery with us here today, Phil, and I'm very grateful that Phil's decided to sort of share his experience. So I'll just explain a little bit of background. The nursery industry, I'm sorry for you nursery guys, but it's the truth and you know it. The nursery industry is amongst the most toxic of basically you're spraying every 2 or 3 days because you've got to have a perfect plant, and you can understand the logic. And so it's sort of, and what people don't think through, aside from the danger to their workers in a confined environment, breathing all these sprays, but the other thing that's not thought through is the fact that the potting mix is drenched in chemicals, and you're taking that plant with bare hands and your children are helping you plant it, and there's an issue there that at some point will be recognised. But we're talking to a man who, becomes almost one of my heroes, because what he's done is kind of unparalleled, because he's grown this plant that insects love and diseases love, and he's doing this incredible, I mean, you just got to look around, and we'll have a walk around the nursery later, but it's a tremendous job that he's doing. And so Phil, how did you get to this spot? What made you decide to have a chemical-free nursery?
Well, thank you, Graham. It's for me just so exciting to be a part of all of this and to be a part of Nutritech. And I thank you for your magnificent products. I'm very involved in an industry where I have a passion. I have a passion for rare and tropical plants. My biggest problem has always been that if I want to grow tropical plants, how do I do that in the subtropics? And that's where I started wondering how I could make these plants stronger. It appeared to me obvious that when we over-chemical deliver onto these plants, that they become weaker.
Yeah,
and it's always been this great concern, how was I going to make these plants handle our climate? And how are we going to be able to make these plants strong so that when we sell them on, because we're only wholesale, that our buyer has great success, either in the landscape or the retail industry? So I started worrying about the immune system of the plant and the strengthening and the health of the plant. Our biggest problem in the industry of ornamentals is everyone's expectations. Everyone expects the plants to look fantastic, to look like they were grown inside a glass house or an artificial environment. So I want to make something shiny, healthy, beautiful, strong. Disease-free. And that's where I met you. And I was lost in the world of attempting to be natural in my practices. And you taught me quite a lot, which I will be grateful for the rest of my life. My children and their children, that we can have this product that is chemical free, that is high in nutrition, healthy, looks great, but is great and is strong. And that all comes down to products that you provide me, like Silica.
Yeah, let's just talk about Silica.
Yeah, let's talk about Silica, because there's nothing like it.
Yeah, so you mentioned that there was at one point you were asking at this sort of a turning point where you were with another nurseryman and you were asking a question about how you could control some of the insects and so forth. And you made the question to me, if there was one thing you could use rather than this whole convoluted thing that I talk about, what would that one thing be? And
well, we're desiring this attractive product, but we're not sure quite how to get there. So we come to so-called organic suppliers and ask you all these specific concerns we have. In actual fact, we need to get down to the basics. Yeah. We need strength and health. How do we do that? Silica has meant no pesticides required. Yeah. Silica has meant a strong root system, a healthy, vigorous plant, and it's the foundation for then adding our nutrients. Yeah. So we use Silica in the form of Tsunami, which is a product that you have that we use as our wetter sticker adjuvant. We won't deliver anything onto this nursery if it hasn't got Tsunami as its base oil, but it also works as a saturator. So it works to saturate the pests.
Yes, so it's a really interesting thing, and I'll just explain that because actually very few people understand this thing with Tsunami, because we have things like potassium silicates, our normal soluble silica source, but Tsunami is what's called a super spreader, and there are two or three others on the market that aren't organic. Ours is actually made. The silica component of these silica super spreaders is usually a chemical form of silica that doesn't deliver a plant available form of silica to the plant. Tsunami is based on rice husk, which of course are massively high in silica, and this whole process of extracting the active silica. And there's a spreader that, if you see a little blob on a waxy leaf surface, and there's no shortage of waxy leaf surfaces here, you want that blob to spread, and you reduce the surface tension to spread that all over the plant. And that's its design, but it also delivers silica, and this is the part that people don't know. And the second part they don't know, partially because we can't put it on the label, is that it can be a very effective insecticide. And its mode of action is that insects breathe through their trachea, which has a small liquid film over the top of it. And when you reduce the surface tension, which involves having enough water in the scenario, where you've got to use at least 1,000 litres per hectare to have that effect, it basically reduces the surface tension of that little film of water, and the insect suffocates when it tightens up. And that can be very effective. So how have you found this work for you on that front?
Oh, it's amazing. It's our biggest concerns would be things like mealybug, and in regards to smothering, that would be spider mites, and we already use, the industry has moved forward a little, Graham. it is interested in botanic oils rather than the old fuel.
Mineral oils,
So the old days of white oil, well, that's petroleum based. How could we possibly put a petroleum based product on plants? But we have moved to botanic oils, and there are some wonderful products. However, I'm way past that now with the silica. It saturates, it smothers any of those pests.
It's very effective on mine.
Very effectively. However, it's not just that, it's the fact that it's a wetter sticker. So when I deliver all my nutrients to the foliage, which is the number one way of taking up the nutrients, it's sticking to it, and I'm getting a much higher percentage success.
Okay, on that point, you've just mentioned this concept of foliar fertilising, which has become something of a global phenomenon. It used to be just a few vegetable growers in greenhouses growing tomatoes that had discovered foliar was a good nutrient delivery method, but now we've got golf courses, we've got turf guys, we've got pasture, we've got broadacre guys who've put aside their fungicide rigs or converted them to foliar, and this idea of delivering 12 times more efficiently via the leaf, you found that effective in the nursery?
Very, very effective. It's been a fantastic journey with that. We also fertigate with overhead sprinklers with photo finish.
Okay.
So that gives us our silica, but it also gives us potassium, and there's boron in photo finish.
Well, there's a bunch of other things like kelp and all these other things. It's a nice product.
See, kelp for us is huge too. We're trying to grow in the subtropics, a tropical plant. So if we can improve their ability to take the cold by 5 degrees, which I believe is what's happening with kelp, it just means our plants arrive in August healthy and ready to take off. Rather than recovering, we're already on a roll.
Which is a really good plan. And sort of understanding the roles of silica, many people don't understand the full spectrum of what it brings, because of course the cell strength is a big thing to give you resistance, but the whole concept, the most recent findings relative to that mineral, that not just that it's what's called an immune elicitor, because we now know that it stimulates immunity really quite dramatically, so the plant can fight its own fight, but it's now thought to be perhaps the most powerful of all immune elicitors. It's that big.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's huge.
Always learning.
So many studies on it. And then there's another thing, which is part of your story of not putting them to sleep in winter and to keep them active and keep them functioning, which means we want to move those nutrients around the plant and keep that process happening even in the colder conditions. And basically phloem and xylem are the pathways for moisture and nutrients. And phloem and xylem are made from silica. So you've seriously enhanced that plant's capacity and resilience and so forth when you've used silica. Is basically what's happening there. And so you've got, basically, let's look at it. So you've got the Tsunami, the super spreader, you've got Photo Finish, which is based on potassium silicate with all of these tag-ons. It's a lovely product. But you've also got the new one, which has become this ridiculously popular product for us, which is called Silica-B.
Yeah.
And so this is silica, calcium, and boron, which are now considered to be the foundation minerals. NPK, I've always been, what's NPK? That's obvious. But we're now thinking, well, if we look back at the sort of how things are built and how they layer off each other, calcium, boron, and silica are at least as important. And so you've got them all in one product. And what do you foliar spray? You fertigate that, do you?
Yes.
You fertigate it?
Both.
Oh, you do both? Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
You can't overdo it. I think it's like consuming vitamins as an individual.
Yeah.
We pee out what we don't require.
Yeah.
I mean, the plants just can consume it. And if you put too much nitrogen, you've got this weak plant that looks fantastic and falls apart when it gets into the real world.
Yeah.
But I mean, our focus originally was NPK.
Yeah.
Nah. NPK is in any good fertilizer.
Yeah.
We don't have to focus on that anymore.
Yeah.
Our focus is on strength, as you say, calcium, silica, potassium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And most of it's through. So how often do you foliar spray?
Foliage spray every 3 weeks.
Okay.
We could do a little less in winter, but the benefits in our climate is great in winter also. So there's less pests and undesirables in winter attacking the plants. But then you've got your fungal diseases, and what's the best way of dealing with a fungal disease is an immune system of a plant that's strong.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting because there's not a lot of research on silica and with tissue testing at where it should be. But what we've found, if you can get 800 parts per million, which is really high, that's the point at where you get all the benefits. And I'm sure if we tested your plants, they'd be around there, because you're not just stopping at those inputs you mentioned, you're using diatomaceous earth in your potting mix.
In the potting media.
Yeah. And so the one suggestion I'd have for you, and I'm really, really enthusiastic about this organism, because we've been without it for several years, and we finally got it back, and it's selling out as fast as we can import it. But we've got an overseas company that make it for us. But this involves this organism called Pseudomonas fluorescens. And what's been found about that, and I'll talk about a second benefit shortly, it is a wonderful silica solubilizing organism. So if you were to drench that into the pots when you're doing your fertigation, then it would go to work on the diatomaceous earth and just kick in that silica even more.
What's this product name?
So it's called Pseudoshield.
Pseudoshield.
Yeah.
I've used Pseudoshield, not for a while.
And you can actually, because we haven't had it for a while.
It was unavailable for a while.
Yeah, that's been years, and we just got it back. So you can, and we now teach how to brew it up, so it becomes very inexpensive. But its secondary role, and this is the statement that, in all honesty, leads to more looks in a crowded room. When I've just been in Europe for 6 months, and I've been for 2 months, and I've been back talking all over the country again. And the look that you see is you lying bastard when you say it. And what I'm saying is that frost is caused by a microorganism. And as I said, everyone says, "Oh, come on, you can't stretch it that far." And what I suggest is that they go to a YouTube, just Google ice nucleating bacteria, and you'll see there's several YouTube clips, but you'll see a professor standing in a classroom with a test tube full of cold water, and he takes an eyedropper full of ice nucleating bacteria, and he drops them in the end and then seals it, and then he holds it going like this, and the water's sloshing to and fro, and it takes about 19 seconds, and it goes and turns into a block of ice. And then you understand that every leaf surface is covered in organisms called ice nucleating bacteria. In fact, they're everywhere. They're on everything, just like bacteria is on everything. And what's exciting is that there is actually an organism that can eat them or that can kill them, that's toxic to them, and that organism is Pseudomonas fluorescens. So it becomes this wonderful tool for frost, and we've been selling so much of it because you don't mix it with anything else. We've found recently with our New Zealand distributor that BAM, which usually goes with everything, is actually antagonistic to Pseudomonas fluorescens, and you won't get the frost protection if you combine the two.
Is that right?
This is just what we found. I haven't tested it,
no.
But he's been doing a lot of work with it, and he said that's the issue with it. So when you are using it for frost protection, what we put with it are the three things that have been shown to be most linked to frost protection anyway, in terms of enhancing your resilience, and that's a trikelp, fulvic acid, and triocontanol, and they're together now in a really popular product called Brixfix. And so we put Brixfix and Pseudomonas fluorescens together, and it really is exciting. Yeah. It's
very exciting. How do we keep up with you, Graham?
There's constant changes. We don't stand still for a moment.
But in the layman's terms, I mean, you have the great depth of understanding, Graham. For the average chap out there like myself in a nursery, it's about having trust in these products and having a go and proving that my leaves are clean, that the plants are strong.
Well, I mean, usually you've got insect bites over all this kind of stuff. They love it. Yeah.
Grasshoppers are a big deal in the palm world.
Yeah.
You won't find a grasshopper bite in this nursery. Why? Because of the silica. Anything that tries to eat the foliage, it damages their teeth. I know it sounds like a joke, and it sounds like witch doctory, but for me it's a fact.
Yeah, and there's research.
It's been
on
a successful fact that we don't have grasshoppers at all, and we don't have to use the old carbaryl chemicals or any of those systemic chemicals that are in the system of the plant. Therefore, we're touching those chemicals, Graham.
Yeah.
I can't believe Silica has changed my business's practice and my life.
Yeah, that's wonderful, and it's interesting to visit and see that your sustainability is anything but token. It extends right through to everything. I mean, you've got these pots which no other nurseryman's got. So tell me about the pots that you
We
use.
import pots from Italy because they're recycled.
Okay,
so it's pretty easy. I mean, it's an ethos that began when we realised that we had bought a property that had no power, and we thought, what an opportunity to generate not just growth for our plants from the sun, but the power. So we are 100% off the grid.
Really?
Yeah,
Right next to town
100%.
and
We don't
off
even have a
grid.
choice. If we shut down, we have to use generators.
Yeah.
We do have backup generators. They don't get ever used because the sun is great.
Yeah.
And we deliver immediate power to our potting machines, our equipment during the day.
Yeah.
And at night we store that power.
Yeah, you've got
The
batteries.
Yeah,
So
we do have to have batteries.
yeah.
Sadly, hopefully the world will change and we can find something better than lithium.
Yeah.
But at the moment, that's the most efficient and successful way
So
of
you're not
storing
even
it.
using the most common ingredient in a nursery scenario, which of course is the black plastic bag. You're not even doing that.
No, I don't want to use anything that ends up being landfill.
Yeah, good on you.
So all our pots are recyclable, and we have a program of which if somebody brings the pots back, we give them a credit towards their next purchase. In retail, that's tricky, but in the world of wholesale, everybody's buying plants from us by the pallet.
Yeah,
So it's a volume, and it's worth bringing those pots back.
that's good.
We have a